when you're going through divorce, when you're thinking about it, your friends tell you, oh, you'll be better off. You'll find somebody better. Life will just be so much better if you get out of that situation. And then you do it and you exchange one pain for another. It's not that easy. Sometimes finding your legs after a divorce is hard work, and finding your new identity is not easy. And today we're just going to talk about that journey, the pitfalls of that journey. One of my favorite recording artists is a guy named Ray Wiley Hubbard. And he has a song he starts all his concerts with called Rabbit. And it's like a child rhythmic nursery rhyme, but it starts with, I saw this old dog chasing this rabbit. And I said to the rabbit, are you going to make it? And the rabbit said, I got to. And I just love that line because it's deep with philosophy. It's just, what choice do I have? I have to make it. So today I brought on a really good friend of mine, Denise Milliken. She is a real estate agent in North Dallas. Denise, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited about doing this. I think it's going to be fun.
Well, let me say something to you and to the listening audience. The reason Denise and I are friends, we're friends for 1,000 reasons. But one of the things I really like about her is she's real, she's raw. You're going to hear that today. I have friends, especially with what I do for a living with this podcast. A lot of people talk about their healing and how they've healed. And, I've really put in the work and, all the things, right? Well, what's the Shakespeare line? I think the lady protests too much. A lot of people just say they're healed. And the thing about Denise I like is she'll admit when things suck and when it's hard, and she doesn't pretend she has her crap together, which is the kind of personality I like, because I like people who are real and raw and admit when something sucks, it sucks. Why pretend that it doesn't? And so, Denise, that's what I picked you today because I thought this topic was wonderful, because you and I have talked about how hard being single is. And I'm going to bring up a moment that you may not even agree with the statement, but I remember this statement from about 3 years ago. You were having a bad day and you told me, Todd, as bad as my marriage was, I sometimes wonder if I should have just stuck in it because it might have been better than this. You may not even agree with that, but at that moment you did, because what that does is it says how hard this is, this navigating. So before we jump into life now as a single person, let's go back. Like, I didn't know you 10 years ago. If I would have looked into your life 10 years ago, who were you? Give a little bit of your backstory. What was your scenario? And then how would you describe yourself as a person? Like, who were you, or who did you project to be?
10 years ago, gosh, I'm still that same person today, but if you met me 10 years ago, I only had, and I was completely focused on the mom role. And so I was my kid's mom, the Dr. Laura Schlesinger, the I am my kid's mom. And the hat that I wore and was, and probably was a part of the deterioration of one of many reasons of the marriage was I feel I was a mom first instead of a wife first. And I think a lot of moms can, a husband can, wait and this and that, but my kids can't. And it's so not looking back and even giving advice to others. I'm like, that is not the way it is supposed to be. It is not the way it is supposed to be.
It's an easy trap, right? It's a so easy trap because you feel like you're doing good and you're doing your work as a mom, but people forget that the healthy part of being a wife first sort of helps. Yeah, I can imagine that. Okay, so you're divorced. How does it reshape how you think about yourself? Like, what would you say? Who are you now? Yeah, you're still a mom, maybe an empty nest mom, but did it change the way you feel about yourself? Does it feel your value of yourself?
Yeah, I think it definitely put me in. I think I would have been fine doing that role forever. And I still am, I'm still mom. But I think at some point, the empty nest, I would hope that it would have shifted over to, I am Brian's wife. I don't know. I think I was always okay with finding my identity as a partner of someone. And so divorce definitely kind of is, I can't hide behind that anymore. And as the kids got older, they didn't want me in their activities. I'm not room mom, when they're a senior in high school, even though I wanted to, that's for sure. So I had to find who is Denise. And I don't know if I would have found, or if I'm still, I want to say, who is Denise? I'm still looking. Who is Denise? As I sit here even with my kids today, like, get a job. Do you know what you want to do? They're 22 to 25 years old. And I'm thinking, I'm 55. I still don't know what I want to do. So it's
Yeah.
okay. But we have that pressure of, finding who we are. And I think I'm still looking. I think it forced me to not hide behind and be okay with just am my husband's wife, I'm my kid's mom. Who is Denise? Denise is a real estate agent. Denise is a philanthropist. Denise, serves her community and, these type of things. And I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, I don't like speaking with, blanket statements, but I was even talking to my ex-wife the other day, and we both were, sometimes we chat about, the tragedy of divorce, right? It's not like we're talking about getting back together, but we call it what it is. It was a tragedy. Our marriage breaking up was a tragedy. It was not a fixable one. Not that either one of us wants a fix, but when we were talking about it, we're like, had we not gone through it, I wouldn't be who I am. And she said, I wouldn't be who I am. I am either, because it forced us to make decisions we
Yeah.
probably would have never made, because you're in a marriage. You're like, you adapt to the situation, and then it's good enough. Or, my job is to pour into that, and you don't really pour into yourself. And when you're alone, you finally are forced to go look in a mirror, that you're the only one standing in the mirror. And you have to say, who am I, and what do I want to be, and what was I? And you have to do all that healing and stuff. And it's ugly, it's messy. Not everybody does a good job with it. And I remember thinking, when I got divorced, I thought, I'll meet somebody in a year or two. I'll go find somebody. And it took me a long time to finally realize I got a lot of work to do. And so I'm at 7 years, and I feel like I'm still learning and growing, and I'm not even sure I'm ready. I don't even know where the finish line is. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Right. Right. And with that too, I look forward to, I'm hopeful to be in a relationship someday. And I do have that thought that it's going to be a different relationship than if I was still with my ex-husband. Every time we went out to dinner, the focus was always around our family. And I don't know if everybody else is like that or if that was just us, but it was somewhere in the conversation, it was about the family and it was not about us. And I feel when the right person comes into my life, how neat that's going to be, I'm sure we'll talk about each other's kids, but the relationship's going to be based on us and, and growing and doing that. And so I kind of look forward to that opportunity.
You and I are probably, this is not going to be our last episode together. I really want to get into the dating and that mindset, but I'm going to say this to tie these thoughts together. I spent quite a bit of time trying to find my new me so I would be a better partner for somebody. Sort of what you're saying is, like, I kept projecting what the new partner will be like, what that new relationship will be with that like. And then plus you start thinking about empty nesting. And then you're like, well, I don't have kids anymore. And then all I have is a spouse. So I'm going to focus on the spouse, right? Well, I'm going to say the other day, a year plus ago, I finally realized I can't just aim at this future mythical person. I need to aim at me. Like, what is Todd 5 years from now wishing Todd did today,
Yeah.
so that guy can be a better guy? And I'm like, the spouse means nothing. Like, if I find him, I find him. If I don't, I don't. I can't be 5 years down the road wishing. And so I switched my healing from let me be a good husband to let me be a good Todd Turner
Person. Yeah.
person. And then that person will benefit from that. But I don't have the lens of looking for a partner in my healing anymore. My healing and my mindset is always what makes Todd Turner happy. What am I doing to invest into myself? What hobbies do I want to create? All that stuff. It's sort of a selfish lens, if you will, but I think it's a good selfish lens. Do you
Yeah.
think that way as well, or what percentage of you is thinking, I'm single, I need a spouse. I'm single, I need a spouse, versus that person may never come in. What is Denise going to do for Denise today?
I think, and it's neat because over the years that we have been friends and we've chatted, I definitely think that there's a male perspective and then there's a female perspective on that. In the sense of, or just even you and I, maybe this is just me, but when you have been in relationships and they're over, you're like moving on, going. And I'm like, are you sad? Do you think about him? And those type of things. So I think as a female, or again, just me, we hold on to things deeper and it's harder to release that and do those things. So I don't even know if that answered your question, but in the sense of, I think when I was first divorced, I thought 5 year like I would be married. My kids said it. You're not built to be single. So it was always that I was just instantly going to be back identifying myself as something else. And then as time has gone on, I'm going on 8 years. I have had to look at myself in the mirror and go, you know what? That may not be what my future. So am I going to sit here and be miserable forever? Which there are miserable days. There are those holidays, all that kind of stuff. There's those sad days that it still sucks. Even if you have your life as going in a better direction, there's still crappy days that it's just like, well, this stinks.
Yeah, I totally agree. I want to go there, but I'm going to go backwards. This is why that phrase I use all the time: "Men are microwaves and women are crockpots." Is that I'm a microwave. If I find somebody I like, I'm in, and if when it's off, it's off. And you guys take longer to glow up, and then you can unplug it, and it takes longer to cool down. And so I think that's the phenomenon you're talking about, because you do come back to me. It's like, what if she called you back? Would you take the call? What's her name? I don't even remember her name, and you're thinking I've got some emotional tie to it. Like, I can't even remember her name. That was last week.
It was. And then I'm like, aren't you sad? Like, let me help
No,
you with this. And you're
no,
like, nope.
didn't even want to talk about it. Okay, but let's talk about those hard days. So it's really funny. Let's talk about let's put a word on it. Loneliness. I can still have a great life. Like, I travel, I do cool stuff for a living, and like have a really good life. I get lonely still. Like,
Yeah.
there are times I'm lonely in my own house, and I guess I don't know if it's wrongfully think that somebody else being in it would change everything. Like, I still crave that partnership. And so I'm triggered. So I guess my question to you is, what triggers you into loneliness? Or yeah, let's start there, because I have a second follow-up question. But what are the things what makes you feel?
Let's take a quick break.
Are you making the tough decision about divorce or in the middle of your recovery? Well, I have a few books you will want to read. Don't navigate one of the hardest journeys you will face without a roadmap. Visit toddturner.com/books to find the helpful guide you can keep with you during this time of decisions and healing. toddturner.com/books. Now back to the program.
Let me think. Okay. I mean, there's so many. So I feel like,
Fair.
I mean, there's holidays is a big one. It's a big one. Only because, I have a wonderful community that, I could have somebody to go to a concert with at any time, but want to be sitting at their table for Thanksgiving in, that intimate family time. So I try it as, I don't know. So holidays are big. Holidays are definitely a trigger. And then, like I said, I have somebody that I could always call for a concert, those type of things. But there is something different than just having your person that, hey, we're doing, what was on your mind for this weekend? Okay, we're doing, those type of things. Travel's a big one. Again, everybody can have tons of friends that you want to go do stuff with. And I even find it funny that when I was in a marriage, there were the girl trips that you long to do. And now, or the girl weekend, I'm going to get away or all this stuff. You're always looking to get
Yeah,
away
those
from
were
the person
special.
that was there.
Yeah.
And then when you're alone, you can have
Every trip's a
endless
girl
girls'
trip.
weekends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it means nothing.
And you miss the everyday, hey, let's run up, let's do Costco and then go to lunch afterwards, kind of thing. I mean, you miss just the
Doing life
everyday.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So that triggers.
it's funny you say that. So here are my two, 'cause they'll probably spur more for you. Is I work from home. It doesn't regardless whether I'm out traveling for work or coming from a client or walking out of this office. You open that door, I have nobody to tell about my day, and that's when I notice feel lonely. It's like, oh, I'd love to tell somebody how my day went, or like, oh, I had a win there. Who do I tell? I just
Yeah.
did this thing. Nobody. No, but yeah, I can call family. Like you said, it's not the same. It's just not the same. And my other trigger for me, and this is, I don't know about embarrassing, but I'm telling the world, but um,
Tell us.
is watching Netflix. Is I have a queue of shows I want to watch that I will not watch till I watch. I go, those are couple shows. I don't want to go through a series. TV is a talking sport. Like I want to hang up and say that director did this, and did you notice that, and the storyline. Like I want to talk about it. And there's just some shows I'm like, I'm not watching that. And so I've got 100 shows to watch on Netflix. And every time I flip by them, it just makes me feel alone. Not watching that, not watching that, not watching that. Still, 7, 8 years later.
I don't think I have the shows, but I do have a folder of travel that,
Places you want to go.
that's a couple trip. And I want to go there with that person. I mean, I don't want to stay in over the ocean, see the fish under my feet with my kids in a bunk bed, or alone or even on a girls' trip. So I have a folder of travel that I would love to do.
All right, so let's be honest. This is what I like about you being real is we have our moments. We have days. Sometimes it's a moment. Sometimes they're just little split second stabs and we move on because we have life. And there's other times where you have time to sit because you have nothing to tell you not to. So you sort of get in these, I'm going to call them funks, where you just like, God, this is not the life I thought I was going to live, and I'm not sure where it's going to go. And I don't want to be a pretender of like, don't live an Instagram life where let me just go out and show the world how great I'm doing. Now, sometimes it sucks. So is it just the fact that somebody's got to pay the bills? Is that what motivates you? Like what, how do you get yourself out of those funks? What, is it Bible reading? Is it scripture? Is the fact, well, if I don't get up, I'm not getting paid. Like, what motivates you out of those moments?
I think that's part of it. And I think part of it is still wanting to be an example to my children,
Mm.
sometimes life does not give you what the plan is, and still gotta get up, get going, do it. Bills is a big portion of it. Got to keep a roof over my head. But I look at that with, I one income. Will I be able to retire as soon as I would have wanted to retire? Will I be able, to have a lake house? Probably. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, that would be great. And I don't want to say that single women or men don't, but it takes more work because of doing it off of one, or it takes longer.
That's right.
Because you have to save that much more rather than having a combined income. Yeah, no, I think my kids and just longevity of wanting a good life is what pulls me out of the funk. And I'm self-employed just like you. I'm not
You don't get a day off.
nobody. Yeah. I don't have a day off, but there's no one, I don't have to be somewhere at 9 o'clock. So those funks are hard for self-employed people. I will say that because I have had the days where I'm depressed and I go, you know what? I'm just not even getting out of bed. I will watch movies in my PJs and Uber Eats.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I
there's
mean,
nobody to tell you not to.
nobody's telling me not to.
I
And
tell
there's those days.
I tell my friends that ask me about, being single, because sometimes people that are in their marriage, they've got their marriage to deal with, and they look at me and they're like, man, you live a great life. And oh man, it must be so nice. And I'm like, let me tell you something. Being single, the greatest thing about being single is I can do whatever I want when I want. The worst part of being single is I can do whatever I want when I want.
Whenever I want.
It's
Yeah.
so bad because no one's going to walk over to your bed and say, get out of bed.
Yeah.
Or I need you to do this, honey. Or, hey, are you okay? You're like, no.
Or here's a big trigger, because that's one big one. When you're sick, who runs to CVS to go get your cough medicine? No, you gotta you're all done. I'm death door, and you gotta go get your own medicine. But that's a big one, is having a partner that would, hey, I'm sicker than sick. I'm not getting out of bed. Will you go get me medicine?
Yeah, I wish I had this phrase better memorized, but joy is doubled and burdens are halved. And that's true in your relationship. And when you carry it all, you have, like I say, you walk out the door, you have nobody to tell the good news to. And then when you have a burden, you have nobody to share the burden with. And it is hard.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. What would you say to Denise now versus 2 years ago? 'Cause you and I used to argue about travel because I was like, Denise, go
I
do
know.
something. But what have you probably done that the older you didn't think you could pull off? What are some things that you've actually got some wins on of, like, you know what? I used to not, like you used to not volunteer as much as you used to do now. But
Right.
is that a win? Like, is that one of the things you're like, you know what? I'm going to go do the things I want to do or serve in ways I used to not. I mean, I don't want to force that one on you, but are there other things even that you have grown into finding your legs, your single legs, if you will?
I think I've always served that. I think that has always been the same. I mean, I definitely have more time to serve because a relationship definitely is a component of your time. And so when you're not in a relationship, you have more time to do that, or you have more time to waste. But I don't know. I don't know. What am I doing better? I mean, things around the house. I think for a long time, I kept waiting. So there would be, like you have your list of TV shows. I would have my list of, when I get a man in my life, I'm going to have him help me paint the room, or I'm going to redo all the landscaping. And then as the year kept clicking on, I was like, yeah, I think I might need to tackle that on my own. And it was learning. I mean, my first changing a toilet, oh my gosh, I like propped the phone and videoed it because I wanted everybody to see that I was doing this
That you were
on
doing
my
it.
own. I did an electrical, like a fan, 2 years ago. No way. I would be like, nope, I'm not doing that.
I've noticed that
And
about
you
you
gotta
is
just do it.
I called you one day. I mean, this is 5 years ago. And you were out, I think you were pulling weeds or doing whatever it was. It had 5 cuss words in it because you were not happy. You were just like, I'm blankety blanking the blankety blank because I got nobody to blankety blank blankety blank. I'm like, oh, okay, well, she's having a bad day. And then, probably even last year I called you one time and like, oh, I'm out here, planting some plants. I'm like, whoa, that's so different of a,
Yeah.
because you were still bitter about, why am I having to do the man's job?
Boy work. Yeah.
The boy work. And
Yeah.
then now you're more of like, well, this is just life and I'm alone and I'm going to do what needs to be done. And I was seeing that in you. I want your opinion on this. I was talking to someone the other day, and I think we're in Texas, so it's tornadoes season right now. And so sirens are going off around town. And a girl told me, she goes, I remember the old days where people would check in on single women. Like, no one called, no one, if I died, would anybody even know I'm in this rubble? And I thought about that and I was like, well, that's an interesting philosophy that she has. Like, men used to come check on single women. I told her, I go, well, y'all used to bake us pies too when we showed up. You don't do that either. So you're not doing your part either. Right. But what is the difference between a man's role and a female's role? And is that just an American thing we all made up of who's supposed to mow the yard, who's supposed to take out trash and do dishes? Like, I was even on a profile the other day online and a girl goes, you put, red lights are these, green flags are these, and red. She goes, if a man cooks, swipe left. That's my job. I don't want to date anybody who cooks. I go, wait, I can think of 100
Wow.
women that would say backwards, like, oh, you cook. That's great. So everybody has their opinions of whose job, but I think maybe it's what you used to do in your marriage is sort of what the standard is. What are your thoughts about that? Like, did you have a traditional role where he did X, Y, Z, and you did the other, and you still see things that way?
Probably a little bit, yeah. And I think it's more a generational thing because I've noticed that, our, kids these days don't seem to have such, compartmentalize. However, there is stuff like if I say to my daughter, dump the trash, she'll say, that's a boy's job,
And you taught her
and
that, though.
right. I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did. And, where if I asked my son to vacuum, he would say, I think that he refers to it as pink and blue. That's a pink job,
That's
that's
funny.
pink or something. But yeah, I mean, that had to change over. But with my choice, I think 5 years ago, I was complaining about boy work, doing yard work. And I think I had to make that pivot of, okay, I either get out of this house with all this boy work and put myself in something that's more comfortable where, I don't have that. Or what means more to me? Do I stay in a home where I've got to tackle that? What's more important? Is what it came down to. And so then it was, you know what? I better just embrace this. And I think seeing the accomplishment, changing the toilet, changing the light, and then going, that was okay. That, the more you do, the more that you realize that you get the self satisfaction of, okay, that felt kind of good. All right, I can do that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm fascinated by this concept of people who get divorced. I'm going to call it in their 40s to 50s. And because divorce is doubling down on empty nesting. Empty nesting already has its own issues because like you say, you're a mom or you're a dad, and then they leave and they're like, oh, what's this marriage all about? Because we don't have kids here. A phenomenally complicated situation that causes divorce fights, and it also causes couples to grow together. It depends how you tackle it. But when you pull everybody out, when you divorce near the time your kids go away, it's different. It's a double different. And you do have to figure out, like, who am I? What do I want to be? What was I? Who am I? And what do I want to be? And then you have to decide, who am I going to be regardless if I have anybody at all?
Right. Right.
Yeah. And it's a journey. There's wins along the way. I actually have a divorce class now besides this podcast, and I do a whole module on finding your new identity, because it is a journey to go do that. And, I think I encourage people to journal it better, because we're talking about some milestones along the way. But now that I've done it, it's easy for me to go back and go backwards and say, here are some things, exercises I wish I would have done, or I did, and it worked. Because I think that growth it's critical, because what can happen is there's a personality type of, I'm going to stay busy so you don't have to numb. Or, well, let me phrase that differently. You stay busy so you don't have to think about it. You're always going, you're always doing, you're always saying yes to things, because you're just like, I'm not going to sit in the silence. And then the other part is sitting in the silence and being a recluse. Woe is me. And then the third one is numbing. It's just like, I'm going to numb. And sometimes you can numb going out, and sometimes you can numb staying home.
Yeah.
It's the dangerous part of drinking or your porn, or name your addiction, name your thing. It's just, you're saying, I don't like this. And instead of hitting it head on, I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist. And it's really a tough journey to get your legs. And that's why I'm so thankful. I mean, honestly, this is a weird statement. I don't think you've ever heard this out of me. I am thankful I did not get remarried in 2 years, because that marriage wouldn't have been much better than the first one.
Right.
I
I
wasn't
agree with
ready.
you. I think there's a healing process. And I remember when you were recently divorced, you referred to it a lot as healing of, you know, I'm taking a nap it was healing the whole thing, almost like physically, mentally, like your body goes through a change and you just need that time. But I do agree with you. I see my friends that have been remarried within 5 years, and it seems to be, I don't know, I read Google says if you're not remarried within 5 years, the chances are, so, of course I have that fear, but then I just feel, do I live in fear? Do I carry on and figure it out? Figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's dangerous too when you finally, this is so funny. I had this conversation the other day with someone. This is, write me a letter if you don't like what I'm fixing to say, because this is sort of gender specific. I may be wrong, but from my observations, and I have plenty because I date more women than y'all women do. So
You do.
I have my perspective. I can see patterns that y'all don't see. And sometimes by the time you find the woman who has her crap together and she's independent, then she has a wall up that says, I've worked so hard to finally be happy with me, that now they look at you like, well, you better fit into my box because I've made a perfect box over here. I love it. I love it. And then now they're the hardest ones to date and break through because they worked so hard to create the new them.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I won't tolerate anybody who doesn't blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's not a relationship, because two independent people are not going to just share a roof and a bed. We have to share lives. And if by the time you get your crap together, you've still got to stay flexible and open for that other person, or else you're going to die alone.
I remember you saying that one of the things you hated on the dating profile was, what was it? Like, I don't need a man, I want a man, or I don't want a man. It was either, and
it
I
was
was
that,
like,
and it was
well,
the
I think mine
independence.
says that. I want, and you were like, no, I don't. I want them to need me. I don't want, is that how it went?
It was.
Yeah.
I used to gripe when I see the word independent. It was a big red flag.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it was like, I don't want somebody independent. I mean, yeah, we're all independent. We're all paying our own bills. Well, I got it. So what do you mean by that? I'm independent. Like, so I was always trying to understand it. And then it was like, I don't want a man, I need a man. I'm like, well, okay, well, I don't want a woman, I need it. Like it's a dangerous thing to say because it implies so much. And it feels to me like it's saying, I have my life together. I have my routines. I know where I get my peace from. I've created a world that's really, really great. And if you can fit in it, great. And if you can't, you're not. Well, that limits who you're going to bring in 100%, because now you're judging me and interviewing me to see if I fit in versus trying to get to know me. And it's like the same it's sort of the same thing. Like, I think when I say that back to them, well, I just need a woman who fits in my life because I'm going to do everything I'm going to go do, and you better fit in or I'm not going to have you. Well, that would make for a crappy relationship. I want a new relationship where you bring the best of you and the worst of you, and I bring the best of me and the worst of me, and we build something new together. But I want to be the healthiest person I can be going in, but I hold it loose. I still want to hold it all. I want to have hobbies. I want Todd in 5 years to be so happy with what Todd's doing today that he thanks me. Like, thank you for learning how to salsa dance. Thank you for learning Spanish. Thank you for going to therapy and working on that trauma thing. Thank you for grinding and hustling so we can retire early. Whatever, just whatever it is. I am working for the future me, the future person I meet that maybe my spouse will benefit from all that. But I don't want to have a rigid attitude of, I'm here to create a perfect life. I'm too old to bring nonsense in. Well, guess what marriage is? Bringing nonsense in.
Nonsense.
I mean,
yeah.
None of us
Chaos.
are perfect.
Yeah, it's going to come in with yuck.
Nuances and problems and
beautiful.
challenges. Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
It bothers me when I hear women. I mean, I'm not picking on women for that, but I would tell you, this is a Christian audience. So in the model of what a man is to a woman and being spiritual leadership, and I mean, there's a lot of nuances in that, and not everybody will be on the same page with what their beliefs. But this idea of God design, like God wired men a certain way, God wired women a certain way. This idea that divorce causes women to take on masculine roles. That doesn't mean just mowing the yard. There's typically masculine roles that women have to inherit. And then by the time they get their stride in it, they're like, yeah, I got this. And it's like, but you're only having to get it. You don't, it's not that I want you to, like, I want you to release some of that stuff. And I think maybe I'm sort of telling you and asking at the same time, like, is there certain things you're doing? I guess you're holding it loosely to say, I will give this up in a heartbeat, but I'll do it for now. But you're willing to say, I would release some of these things, or do you just get calloused over time to say, but I'm going to create the life I want for myself, and I'm not going to even consider somebody else coming in and running that? What are your thoughts on that?
I hope not. Because that's a good way to put it, is I hope that I wouldn't be so callous of, and going back to, in the biblical, I don't believe we were built or meant to do life alone. I believe we were built to have a partner. Now, God has a sense of humor with some of this. I'm sure of it, but but to go even back to, like, saying that we're independent and saying things like that, I would always, we just felt differently in that sense of, I think that there needs to be some grace. I think we put it or say it because if we aren't saying it, writing it, putting it, presenting it, we may break, that. And that's a good sense is, there are men roles and there are women roles. And in divorce, a woman, I don't know, like, see, that's where I go. I think it's harder for women because I feel like a man oh, well, you have to take on woman roles. What?
Yeah.
Cooking? You're already, I don't know. I don't know. And then it's probably so the other way, like,
it's
killing bugs is a man's job. But,
right.
What am I going to do? I've had a snake in my house. I've had to remove a snake. I've had a mouse, those kind of things. So I've had to remove them. Otherwise, I would just sit here with varmints in my house.
Okay, I'm going to get in trouble with this because I haven't thought long enough to develop a fully mature thought, but I'm going to say it because I can process it out loud, and I'll come up in another episode and clean this up because I don't think I'm going to nail it on this. But let's just make some assumptions that we're going to define some of the biblical roles, right? Men are hunter-gatherer. We pursue things, we kill things, we go out. The woman is our helper, right? Eve was a helper.
Yeah.
And we can still be men without a woman because we do all the things that we do.
Right.
It's better with a woman, but we can still do it. When you're a helper and you don't have everybody to help, then now you're helping yourself. And then now you're out being the killer and the whatever. And so you're getting a role, you're getting an extra role on top of your role where we're just keeping our role, if that makes sense. So
I agree.
I hear you, but I'm going to say something. Now, by the way, what I'm fixing to say, if you've seen the clip, I will be butchering this, but maybe I'll find it and I'll put it out somewhere. But I saw a clip this week and I put it on my Facebook story. I do stories. They disappear, but I don't like putting stuff all on my wall.
Right.
But I probably saved this because it was so good. It was a little petite woman. I'm going to call her in her 30s, maybe. And she was a New Yorker, and she was in front of a microphone like she was standing at a conference or something. And she so beautifully talked about this. And she said, she was talking, I think, to married women who did not think highly of their husbands. And she says, I don't care if you think your husband's a bum. I don't care if you think he's lazy. I don't think if he sucks in 100 different ways. God still gave him a role. And he, even at his worst, is better at it than you are. And she goes, think about it like it raining in New York City. And she goes, you know how those little places pop up where they sell you those little $2 umbrellas? Well, some people may walk around with a $500 umbrella, but that $2 umbrella will still cover you. Your husband's job is to cover you. He may be a cheap $2 umbrella, but you don't have an umbrella. And you're going to get wet, but that $2 will cover you. My job is to help him cover me. He's the coverer. I'm his helper. Mm-hmm. It's wired in him to do that. It's wired in him to protect me from the rain. He may suck at 100 other days, but he can do that job. My job's to help him. So as he's covering me, I don't poke at him and nag at him, well, because he's doing his job. And she goes, I may not like all the other stuff, but he has a role. And I think I was blown away. Sorry for those who have heard it. That was a horrible job. She did a way better job at it, but it was just mind opening. I was like, wow, I've never heard somebody say it this good. When we're divorced, I am fascinated by when you're dating, when you flip into the roles, because, I don't have the opinion that a man is over a woman. I have an opinion that a husband is over a wife, not a man over a woman, which I think that's why a lot of churches get it wrong, because a man, like the pastor or the elder, he thinks he's over that one. No, that's not your wife. That's a woman. She's even Steven to you. You don't have any authority over that woman at all. Your wife and y'all have some roles, but man and woman, I'm not over a woman walking down the street, right? I have no authority. I'm not her cover. I'm not her armor bearer, if you will. And so when you date somebody, when do you become a leader? When are you a leader? When are you a protector or whatever? And I think a lot of guys, back to the microwave deal, I think a lot of guys come in and they try to love bomb and show you, oh man, I'm this, and this. And then, because different people's personalities, as soon as they sort of conquer it, they move on to the next thing. And you're over here like, wait a minute, I thought you were protecting me, and I thought you cared about me, and I thought it was going to be this way because you were turning on your crock pot, warming up to the idea. And then he left. And then you're like, well, screw this, enough of this. And I'm just going to unplug the crock pot, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Am I on to something here?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think the only thing I would add in there is, when you said the pastor is not over a woman. If what I hear and what I see, though, is what is expected of, and I won't even use the pastor role kind of thing, because it might be more but of me. If you and I were out to lunch as friends, so we're equals, but a robber came in, I would look to you as the man to protect the female. Does that make sense? It is that gender role and yet a woman. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I'm even going gross. Like, if a man burps, it's almost like, I don't know, it's kind of, I don't know. It's not, because that's gross. It's probably a horrible example. But like when a girl does it, it's just like, oh my gosh, and it's just like, really, I don't know.
The double standard is what you're saying.
Better example than that. But there just is these men and women roles. And we do look to men, whether they're with us or not, to protect us. I don't know. Maybe that's why they've always been the president, and why they've always.
Don't forget, this is why it's so frustrating. I'm not trying to get political, but the women's lib movement of like, we'll open our own doors. Well, now we're like, we don't know whether we open one, we get cussed at.
Open our door.
Yeah. So I open them all.
Open the door. Yeah. No, unless you're dating someone who, doesn't,
I will not date that person.
Okay. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It might be nice. Maybe they'll pick up the bill.
Right.
We've had that discussion a lot.
We've had this discussion, and I'm going to go ahead and double down and tell the world. You and I went to a circus a year ago.
Yes.
And we're friends, right? You and I go out. We probably, hey, it's your turn to pay. It's my turn. Or we split the bill. I don't even think about it because we're friends. I don't even think about it. Well, we went with my sister and brother-in-law to a circus. Well, they were going to buy their tickets. And she looked at me like, well, you're buying Denise's, right? And I'm like, no. She goes, buy Denise. She elbowed me like, you're a jerk. And I'm like, I had to go tell her. I was like, hey, that's not fair. You're putting me in a gender role. Yeah. Like, if I pay for every girl I ever just go out with, I'll be broke, which means I won't be asking anybody to go. Like, you're not thinking through my situation. Like, I can't pay just because I'm the guy. That's illogical. We had a big argument.
Right. No, I do remember, because I do remember milking it a little bit with your sister. Like, it's always cheap. He never pays for me.
You doubled down and put salt on the wound.
And worked it because I had her on my side. But with that, I do feel it is a man's responsibility to pay on a date.
A date I'm fine with.
Okay. I think there's a lot of, as I've dated, and again, probably a whole other podcast deeper into dating, but there are a lot of men that are like, okay, well, if I'm not getting something at the end of the night, then we're going Dutch or something like that. And I'm thinking, that again, that's not, and maybe it's the generation thing, but that is not the role. It is the man's. I don't know. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate. Don't send the letters to Todd.
I mean, like I said, this is a whole nother conversation because this idea that I think women do try to have it both, have their cake and eat it too. It's, well, the man needs to pay. I need to be pursued. It's like, but are we playing the whole pursue game correctly? Like, if I come and offer you marriage, is your answer yes? But in other words, how far back are we going in history of whose role is what? Because am I supposed to exchange 2 goats for you and you have to come to me
Yes.
because I offered 2 goats? Like, how far are we going back here? What culture are we talking about with what does pursue mean? And my argument is I want somebody to pursue me too.
Right.
I want them to lean into me. It's like, it's really tough. I remember one time, we are in dating. We slipped into dating, but this is all part of the journey of being single.
It is.
But I hate when people in their profile put almost nothing. And you ask them a question, they're like, well, hey, take me out. I'll tell you in person. No, I'm not dropping $50 to have you walk in the room and I realize, or $100 and that you're not my person. That's not fair to me. So I'm not doing it. So it's like, well, some girls are like, well, there's no way I'm not going to date somebody who's not going to be willing to take me out. And then there's people on the internet, well, never accept a coffee date. Like, if he doesn't care enough to take you out to a real place, then you don't need that man. It's like, is that fair? Like, am I supposed to drop $10,000 dating till I find my person when you could literally on your bio tell me you have a 4-year-old son, and then I won't be talking to you because I don't want to date somebody with a 4-year-old son.
Sure.
Like, why do y'all think we're supposed to waste time when you could just be upfront and honest right off the bat, and then we can realize, we're not made for each other. Let's save you having to get a babysitter, putting on all the makeup and doing your stuff, and save me from having to do my stuff. We could just end all this nonsense right now.
Right. Yeah. No, I do. And I think there's a middle, type of thing to that, because I'm much better in person. I would rather than this back and forth, 20 questions and that whole thing. So I think there's that, but I don't know, someone that doesn't, and it goes on the other side. Again, there's men that don't put anything on their bio. And there's just deal breakers, like you had said. I mean, small children, that's not necessarily what I want in my life right now. I'm an empty nester and I like that.
That's right.
And, but there are things that come up that I would like to know.
Let's talk about that for a hot second, because I think it's super cool. I hear women in your profile say, take off your sunglasses and don't show me a picture of a fish. Like,
holding your fish.
Yeah, everybody holds a fish.
Or your selfie, your gym selfie.
Well, that's okay. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's right, but I'm letting y'all women into a mindset.
Please.
This is why some of you women see a picture of a guy's house, his truck, his boat, his gym picture, and the fish. He's saying,
I do all those things.
He's saying, I bring my value to you. I'm supposed to protect you, supply for you. I'm supposed to do these things, and I'm letting you know I'm capable of that. This is what I've built. This is who I am. I work out. I can protect you. I can offer you something. And that's their way to say it. I'm not saying it's right, but that's sort of what's going on. And they don't know how the flip phone works to take a dang selfie, which is enough reason not to date somebody. It's 2025. They can't take a selfie. Hit the road, Jack. But it's, and I think sometimes with the women, it's the same thing. It's like, well, here's my boobs. Here's my look how good I can look. Let me put a filter on so I can show you how good I can look, because I'm bringing that to the table. And those people I run away from, because I'm like, your looks are going to come and they're going to go. I need the person who I wake up and roll over. What you look like, that's the one I need. I want to know what she looks like. And I need to know what's in here. Like, who are you? Who are you is what I want to know. I don't want to know what you own. I don't want to know what you look like on your best day. I don't care what Snapchat thought you looked like 6 months ago. when you took a picture of yourself on Snapchat with some
With
filter.
bunny ears and yeah.
What a waste of time and effort. It's just frustrating.
But we are so, first impression. So I think what we're trying to do is put forward that first impression. I mean, the filters I get. No. I don't like the filters because I don't want it to ever be where you walk in and they walk right past
Well,
me because I don't look anything like my picture. I mean, I try to keep it. So I get that the filters are a little bit too much. But if I have 15 photos on my phone, I'm posting the best one,
of
of
course you
course.
do. We all do.
I'm not posting the one that may show, a little
Yeah, the
fatty,
side
or
view of me
I'm not
eating at a
posting
buffet.
that one. Yeah, so I get that. But then it was funny too how you go, well, we post the car, the gym, the fish, so we could show that we do all these things. I've never posted like me making eggs
Right.
and me vacuuming to show that I'm the full, at church doing this. And,
Right.
no, I haven't done. But no, I do feel we put our best foot forward in the hope that in this,
Here's what I
that,
can be to you.
yeah,
We're going to change this topic real quick, but
okay,
this last month or whatever it was, however long ago, I always say the other day. The other day means the word
right,
other
2
day
years
comes out
ago.
of my mouth. It means nothing.
Yeah.
It could be 20 years ago or yesterday. But the other day, I had a person who sort of sent some what I assume were filtered pics. They were borderline, and then
Yes,
I
you told me.
went to their Facebook and I saw a picture they put. And when I say 20-year difference, like 20-year difference, and I'm like, why would you? I mean, when I meet you in person that I'm going to flip my lid. So how does it do you any good to put a fake picture out there? Like,
Yep.
and guys do it. I think guys, women, y'all know how to work phones better, so you're probably better at it. But men are horrible, from what I understand. So I'm posting a picture of them 20 years ago to almost show, hey, here's what I used to look like,
Right.
or here's what I looked like before I gained 20 pounds, and they'll post that picture. It's like, why? That's not the guy walking in. But in their mind, they're saying, you're marrying that guy. I just happen to not be in shape right now, but man, I was. Could be
Could be again.
Yeah.
Right.
I had hair. If I wear a
Yeah.
toupee, I'll have hair again.
Right. Right.
And they
No,
come bald, and you're
I
like,
think
what?
it is. I think it's the, or even the illusion of, I think I still look like that. I don't know. I don't know. But there are some that are just, that
It's
is not. And my big thing, being tall, is the height. I mean, don't lie about your height. We're
they're gonna
gonna
find out.
know. Yeah. Yeah, we show up and you say you're 6 foot and you're 5'5". You don't want to hop off your bar stool. And it's like,
It's height with men sort of works like weight. It's this idea. Let's say a girl was 120 last time she looked. Well, then she's, she knows she's a little heavier, but she's like, yeah, I'm 120. And then later it's, well, I'm 125. It's like, no, you're 148 for sure, but you in your head you're 120 and you just got a couple more pounds to lose. Well, men that aren't 6 foot is the magic number.
it is.
So what happens is a guy who's 5'9.5", he's like, well, I'm 5'10". I mean, I'm 5'10". If I were, I'm 5'10". Well, then you're like, well, if I'm 5'10", if I wear boots, I'm 5'11". So then he's 5'11". He goes, all I'm gonna do is just sit up straight. I'm 6.
Right.
I'm 6
Right.
foot. And then they'll tell you
So
they're 6 foot.
live it.
You're
It's just-
5'9.5". That's what you are. But we all play the mental game. And yeah, I'm lucky. I'm 6'2", and my kids did not end up taller than me, which a lot of people now, the kids are taller, I guess, with that junk they eat now. But my kids are both shorter than me. And they're like, Dad, you're not 6'2", you're not 6'2". I go, son, I'm 6'2". They go, there, you're not. And so I go, all right, let's go. We grabbed the tape measure. I went barefoot. I stood up, 6'2". I'm still 6'2". I'm 55. Today, I'm 56. I turned
56. Happy birthday.
That's right.
56.
I'm still 6'2". I've not shrunk yet. I'm claiming 6'2". And if I wore boots, I'd be 6'3". But I just say 6'2" because I'm 6'2".
Funny.
When you're over 6 foot, you don't have to lie. It's all the people shorter than 6 foot. They're the liars.
See, and I think I go because tall women. So, I mean, I always wear some kind of wedge, but I try to lie the other way because I think men, Well, they get intimidated or they don't, or they're
The
that
short
borderline.
under
So
6 foot.
I only, 5'10", and yeah.
I'll hunch over for you.
So the opposite. See? So it's just that first impression of what we put out there that, yeah, we want to be, and I don't want to even say, because I could honestly care less, but ultimately when you're on it, you want to be picked. You want to be the one that's picked. But
Isn't
after
it
you've been
funny?
on it for years, I'm like, I could care less. I get on dating, once, I don't know, once a week, like when I'm in the bathroom or something like that. I'm like, I haven't checked that in a while. Let me check. Where when you were first single, I mean, it was
You
your
leave it open.
job. You did it. You were in. And now I'm like, I don't know if I've gone on a date in 2025,
Yeah.
you know?
It's really interesting you say this. I'm at a point with the apps. I mean, there's layers of this conversation for those poor souls who have been on the apps. We all know the problems. There's
Yeah.
so many layers to the phenomenon of how it works and ghosting or whatever. That's a whole podcast in itself. But I really have I'm going to tie this into everything we've been talking about. When you work on yourself and you know who you are, those 7 pictures and that little bio doesn't have a shot of telling you who Todd Turner is. I don't care what picture I upload. I don't care what witty little bio thing I put. It's not a fraction of who I am. So sometimes I'll open the app, you just see, and there's times where you're like, I got 7 matches. And there's other times you get 0 and your heart hurts a little bit like, not one person in Dallas thinks I'm worth a thumb to the right. Not one person in Dallas. You get a little
Right.
ticky, pissy with it because you get offended. But at the same time, I'm like, I almost like to pray, like, Lord, thank you that there's nobody I'm wasting my time with today. That
That's a good perspective.
if they
Yeah.
don't know who I am or don't want to know who I am, good. I just saved $100 because I don't have to waste time to find out you're not the person either. So I'm actually okay with that. Actually, the less is more. I'm very intentional about only swiping on who I think, honestly, this person looks pretty because they put their best pictures forward, like you said. They look a little witty based on, they put nothing. I'm left. I don't care if it's Cindy Crawford and it says she's 1 mile from me. If she has 0 bio, like, come on. If you don't want to put any more effort than that, then you're at the left. And I'm like, okay, now that I met you, now you got to pass the test of, are you engaging at all? If you're just barely checking in or I text you and I don't hear something back, then you're not really interested in meeting somebody. So I unmatch people all the time. I'm like, if I text you and you haven't answered me in 2 days, unmatch because
Done.
I don't have time for that. And then if I meet you and you have that little witty banner, I turn that into a phone call. It's got to be a phone call and or hopefully a FaceTime. I make very few exceptions because you can learn so much more about somebody when you can hear them, see them, and then they pass that test, then you meet them. And then I would say 99% of the time, the dates go wonderful because we put in the
Already
work
did the bus.
to know it's going to go wonderful. So I hear
Yeah.
you when I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm just so much better in person," or my pictures. I get told all the time I'm prettier in person. I'm like, that's not my criteria of whether you're prettier in person. So, no, I don't
There's
want to
more
go
to it.
meet you. I need to know who you are. Who are
Yeah.
you? Because
Yeah.
I've been working on who I am so that I'm not wasting your time. Well, don't waste my time. Like, who are you? And if you're not willing to be honest and put in the work, then I don't have time to talk to you. I'm too busy with my life.
Yeah.
That makes
I
sense.
had a question with that one though, and I mean it's a serious question. So when you go on and you don't have anybody that has liked you or whatever, do you think you go further and further out of not like it's not what you focus on? You know what I mean? Like you find your time like it's a drug. Literally, if you're getting the hits, even if they're go well, I mean that's not if they go nowhere, you check back on, you check
It's an
back on or
ego boost.
whatever.
It's an
Yeah.
ego boost.
Yeah. But if you don't, then I think it's back to even our earlier part of this conversation of I'm not getting that from this. I've
Mm-hmm.
got to get it somewhere.
That's right.
Where am I going to get it from? I've got to get it from within. So there's something to being single longer is maybe the whole point of this whole thing was I needed to find who Denise was in her own skin and be comfortable before I can ever be something more to someone else.
Well, you nailed it. If
I
that
don't like
mirror,
it.
no,
I can't
that's
say
perfect.
that I love that plan.
But it's the right one. If you don't
It
look
is.
good in the mirror, if you won't swipe right on the person in the mirror, it doesn't matter what's in the phone. Like it's who am I? Who am I going to be? What am I working towards? And I think that's the one that frustrates me sometimes is I like women who tell me I want to partner with somebody so that we can become something great. Or I'm here to be your right hand person. Like, oh, now that you let me, I'm already trying to go far down the road, but with you, we're going to go further.
Yeah.
That's the person I'm looking for, not the person who's to repeat and miss little independence. Like I have a really great life and I don't need you, but if you want, you want to swipe right, I'll see if you fit.
Right.
That's not good luck. Good luck for the
Right.
poor guy who exchanges his money for that girl's beauty and peace. What a mess that's going to be. Superficial as all get out. I don't want that. I want a partner that we are 1 + 1 is 3. That's what I want. And I don't want to settle for anything else. And so
Right.
once again, yeah, back to I want to really underline what you said. Get the mirror right.
Yeah.
Get yourself right. Find your new identity. That takes time. Being on the app, staying busy doesn't do it. You've got to have some quiet, alone time to reflect, to work, to put in the healing. It's not easy. It's not like you get a divorce, you go to therapy for 2 months, and then you're ready. It's a journey. I think I've said it before. I thought I'd be married within a year or two. Here I am at 7, and I'm like, I'm not even done. Like, I don't even know when I reached a line that's far enough down the road that I'll be like, man, I got my crap together. I don't think I'm going to have it. We're Christians. Where sanctification goes till I lay in that casket. I'm never done growing. I'm never done trying to be Christ-like. I'm never done working on myself. So I think I'm far enough along to be a good partner. And to me, that's the criteria is I'm not perfect, but I'm ready to pour in. If you're ready to pour in, if 2 people are ready, it can happen.
Right. Right. And I
Gotta
feel,
go get 'em.
yeah, they both have to pour into all of that. And some of the people that I admire their relationships and I watch it, uh, it's that. It's not that he waits on her hand and, buys her tons of gifts, does all of that. He is complimenting and pouring into her as much as she is into him. And it just makes this beautiful connection. And that's what I feel people need to wait for. And
I keep saying this and I never look it up. I need to look this stat up. They say that the second marriage divorce rates are higher.
yeah.
But my argument to that is the people who are rebounding, that divorce rate's high. But if you look at people who get married and they wait years and they do the work, I feel like those marriages probably have a way better chance of success because they're like, I'm not marrying for the wrong reason. I've already apologized to my ex-wife for the things I've done that caused harm to our marriage. I already apologized. The new person is not going to get those mistakes. I've fixed them. I'm working on them. I've identified them. Like my next marriage is going to be better than my first. Doesn't mean that it's because my ex is so bad that the next one's better. Not that attitude. It's because they're getting a better version of Todd that she didn't get. And I hope they're going to be a better wife to me than their poor ex-husband got too. And that now we don't have kids because we're an empty nest. Now we're not tired and I got to go do this thing with the kids and they're not mom first. They're
Right.
my wife first.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this is the best time to get married. And I'm so excited about the next marriage. I don't go in with there's a higher chance of divorce. Like, no. I'm like, dude, we have the best chance to make something glorious here because if you have 2 people who put in the work, who doesn't have anything else to focus on but each other, what a dangerous combination.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree.
I want to wrap up with this. So I quoted Ray Wiley Hubbard first and Shakespeare second, and here's Chuck Swindoll. I'm going to read this. It says, I live all over the place. That's sort of me. I read it all. I think on Easter, I post on my Facebook stories. Every morning I put on a record and I
Yes.
play a record. I don't know if you
With your
noticed
new
that lately,
place. Yeah.
but
That
like
whole
even on
setup.
Easter, I think I probably had Waylon Jennings play. I don't and Beastie Boys, like I don't time of day, and I'm not very good at that. It's just whatever I'm in the mood for, that's what I play. I record it, and that's what I listen to on the patio because I can move my speaker. But I listen to records every day. So I'm a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll. Ray Wiley Hubbard, Chuck Swindoll. For whom God uses most effectively have been hammered, filed, and tempered in the furnace of trials and heartache. God does best after he crushes somebody. Divorce is trauma. It's a crushing. It's not only the crushing of a marriage, it's a crushing of a person. And you can come out of the other side in a really good spot if you live in the crushing and build back up correctly. You really can. You can have something great. And so, as I said before with my ex, I hate that my family was destroyed by marriage. By divorce. I hate that happened. But I would not, I know me. I know exactly where I'd be. I'd weigh more. I'd be lazier. I would be sitting on couch. I'd hunt more. Just do the old me. Mm-hmm. I got to the newbie by being crushed. And it sucks. Oh, it sucks in the middle of it. But on the other side, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that I am who I am. And I would have never got here because I would have been too lazy to get here before. I was forced to. So
I agree. I totally agree with that. I mean, I think of how diamonds are put under that extreme pressure. And I think what I've learned through it is instead of just rushing it, you have to just go through it. You just have to just allow it to happen because of
no time.
there just isn't. No matter what Google tells you.
That's right. Yeah. Don't trust Google. It does not know.
No matter, the triggers, that's all part of it. It's all part of it making you who you are. And I believe God does have an absolute brilliant plan. And for those that are having to wait, as I have to remind myself, is if and when that person comes, that it just goes, now I understand why I had to go through or why I waited. I get it now.
I don't believe in soulmates because it doesn't make sense because you're married once and then your next one was their first one not your soulmate and your second one was like I was born in Florida but my soulmate's in North Dakota, I'll never meet them. Like it's a fault. It's like the dogs go to heaven. No, they don't. Think about it. All our pets don't follow us around in heaven. Like that little alligator you had when you were 2, he's going to be in heaven waiting on you because God says all pets go to heaven and you got to take it whether you want him or not. He was your pet for 5 minutes. Like it makes no sense. Same with soulmates. Soulmates make no sense. I do not believe in soulmates, but I do believe in a God who is literally providential and you're either sovereign or you're not. God doesn't just know what's going on. He orchestrates things. So I do believe that there can be somebody out there for me that when we get together, like you said, you'll have a clearer vision of stuff. Well, that person, I hope the Lord's preparing them for me. Well, that means I should be preparing for them. So I do need to get my crap together so that the day when they see me, they're like, there he is. There he is. That's the guy I've been waiting on. I like his soul. I like his heart. I like stuff about him. And then you quit looking like, oh, he lives in an apartment with his, son and he wears flat bill hats. That's another thing.
Doesn't cut his hair.
Yeah, that never cuts his hair. It goes back to what we were saying a minute ago about about women's role. Like I've hung out with women who see men and they're like, oh, he's single. Now, how do you know? I can just tell by the way he dressed. He has no woman at home telling him not to leave the house like that. Because y'all are built a certain way. And I know for a fact I dress single. My sister even tells me, are you wearing those single blue jeans?
You just posted a picture of you and your sister at the Star. And I'm like, why is he wearing sweats to the Star? Why is he wearing his sweatpants?
Yeah, you do that. You know what? You know why I wore them?
Because you're comfortable.
They're comfortable, and I didn't think I was going to the Stars game. I was just going down there to drop them off, and we bought tickets on the way. And I thought, screw it, let's go in. So we went in. But you know what? I
Good
didn't
for
sit there
you.
and say, oh, I'm worried about what do people think if I wore it? Yeah, screw it. We went in. Yeah.
Of that, even though I did go,
You were
why is he
judging me.
wearing sweats?
Yeah, well, thank goodness you didn't text me and tell me to get alive. So I appreciate that. All right. So if you're listening, go look on toddturner.com, and there is a class that I have that you might be interested in. It's very low cost, but it is the different steps in divorce recovery. And one of these is building your new identity. And I'm probably going to take this video and literally put it up in there just, because there's people who take that haven't seen this. So I'll put this episode in there as well. So Denise, thank you for taking your time. This won't be our last one. We rambled for 20 minutes on dating, and we weren't even trying. So I know
We
got
weren't supposed
hours.
to.
Yeah, we got it.
No.
Thanks for sharing your time and effort, and it's been fun to sort of watch you grow with me and learning how to get our single legs. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
If you like this content, then subscribe for even more resources, fun, laughter, and sound advice for Christians adventuring in unyoked living. Not just divorce recovery, but for brave men and women who are growing and going and living a life on mission. Blessings. Thank you for listening to the UnYoked podcast with me, Todd Turner. Can I ask you a favor? Two, actually. First, rating and reviewing this podcast positively goes a long way to help others find this resource. I get told constantly, I wish I knew of this podcast earlier. Well, you can make that happen with just a simple rating on the podcast app you're listening to right now. Also, when you're done with that, please go to toddturner.com/books and purchase, gift, and review the resources that we have available for those needing help in their divorce journey. It's a lot easier handing somebody a book sometimes than handing them a podcast. And your Amazon reviews really help get our books higher on the chart for others to find. toddturner.com/books. Thanks so much. And please, really, just review the podcast really quick. Thank you.